Alright, welcome to the beginning of a new Let's Play for Shadow Empire. Shadow Empires, one of the two. I'm going to talk in this video, first of all, just about my initial thoughts and planet creation. So, this is not the first screen you'll see in the game, but I've skipped it because it's just a loading screen and it takes a while. We're going to play a small, normal-sized game, and I'm going to talk about these planet classes off the bat, not just what the summary of the game is, but what I've found from playing. So first, there is Seth class, which says desert planets. The key characteristic is they have no water, but it's possible for there to be alien life. So what this is basically saying is there's not going to be any rivers or ocean tiles, water tiles on the entire map. And you can still get like native indigenous life forms on this kind of planet, although it's pretty rare. Alright, next is Boreas ice planets. Their key characteristic is that they have water in usually sizable amounts, but they have too low a temperature for most of it to be liquid, and they can also have indigenous alien life. Now, this one, like it said, it's just really cold. It will have some water tiles, and it'll have some water tiles. So that's the kind of key thing there, and the temperature is going to be low, and it's basically inhospitable. There's no farming either on either of these. There's farming, but there's no open air farming, which makes farming more costly and difficult. Next is Limos class. Not quite desert planets, but not much better either. They have some amount of liquid water, but they are always void of life. So basically this is going to be a dry desert planet, but it will have, unlike the Seth class, it will have rivers and oceans, but it will never have indigenous life forms. That's kind of the key takeaway. This one will have indigenous life forms sometimes, but obviously because there's no water, they will be non-water based. That's what it's kind of saying there. This one, if it did have indigenous life forms, that's what it's saying. It would be basically a Siwa class. So a Siwa class will come to... Actually, let's do it next. So a Siwa class, they're quite close to Earth. They always have Terran biology or a Terran-compatible alien type of biology. So these planets can be very, very dry, almost exactly like Litmos, but they will have open-air potential farming. Limos classes don't, in my experience. You can't build open-air farms. You have to have arable land. Arable, is that the right word? And these ones will have it. Siwa class will have it. This is the class we're going to play on. Also, you can get indigenous life on these. You can get like just, proto-life too. So if you don't want to have to deal with animals, which I don't particularly, I think you can spawn that on Siwa class. So I hope that makes sense. That's the difference. No farming, but has water. No life. This one, farming, water, and life. Okay, next is Cerberus. These are lava planets, hot, without water. These planets have very active geology, and they can even have rivers and lakes of magma, and I think they can sometimes have indigenous life forms, although I have not been able to see it. I'm going to come back to life forms in a minute. But yeah, basically think of it as like, instead of water, it's lakes and rivers of lava, and otherwise they're basically functionally the same, except that there's technology you can use to get water from rivers and lakes, but there's no technology, obviously, for getting water from hot magma. They're kind of a fun, interesting one. Next is Medusa class, liquid water and rainfall, and they always have hostile alien biology. So that's kind of the nuance between Siwa and Medusa. You're always going to have angry animals. Okay, planetoid class, small rocky planetoid, basically very similar to what you get with Seth, but they're just going to be a smaller yet. So like we're on a small normal sized here, you're going to get even smaller on this. So yeah, anyway, that's basically it. And then moon class the same way. Okay, so indigenous life forms. There is something very misleading about what these are saying. There are different factions. Factions isn't the right word. Types of Yeah, I guess it is factions. There are different types of factions that can spawn in your planets, on your planets. And those are oftentimes just either minor or major factions, so like, humans that are living in habitable domes or cities, making their way. But then you'll also get other things that are like, independent, unaligned zones, which are like nomads. Well, no, nomads is yet again another faction. But they're just like indies, basically. But they don't have any cities, so they're just like these crazy people living out in the wilderness. Even though they, in the instance of Seth, Boreas, Litmos, Cerberus, planetoids, and moons, they have to have breathers. But then you'll get things like mutants, which are just like mutant people that have no weapons or anything. They're pretty easy to kill, although they're extremely annoying. You can get those on Litmos, I'm sure. I think you can get them on like basically any of these planets, which starts to not make sense because how do they breathe? And then finally there's arachnids, and it's like arachnids can also show up on any of these planets. Well, not finally. There's arachnids and there's dino riders, like nomads who are, wandering the wilderness on top of dinosaurs. And, you would expect that, oh, well, I only see those on a Siwa class or a Medusa class. But no, those can spawn on any of these. So understand that, guys. Like, for me, a point of frustration is, like, I've been wanting to not have those factions in the game, so I've been like, oh, well, I'll just pick lifeless worlds. But then they still show up. Even on, like I said, the Litmos class, which says, I promise you, there's no life forms, but then it's like you get these minor factions that feel like alien life forms, and, thematically they are. Okay, unclassified. This one just lets you randomize within the whole range, I think. I'm not going to talk about that. Let's go into Siwa, though. We're going to play Siwa. The reason I would recommend, too, if you're playing this game for the first time, to do Siwa, just because resources can be a very big issue on these different planets. But if you have Siwa, at least you're not going to need to really worry about food. You should be able to farm almost everywhere. So generation settings, we're doing detailed planet overview, fog of war complete, one human player, city-state start, that means you just have one zone and one city, militia only, regular difficulty. I've not been able to beat this game on regular. So guys, if you've been wondering where have I been for like the past week or two with videos, it's been because I've been trying to figure out how to play this game and beat it at least once off camera. I have not been able to. Regular is fine for difficulty level. The true difficulty of this game is not in the military aspect. It's not the wargame aspect. Its true difficulty is in the logistics. We'll talk about that later. Organizational level, you can have up to 8 councils, I think, total, but normally you have to research and unlock them. I like starting out with the Supreme Command Council. That just is a more interesting start. Development speed normal, of course, just regular normal speed. Development tech level, starting tech is tech 3. Story modules that may occur. I have turned off cults and sex. I would like to show you cults and sex, but the reason I've turned it off is because they generate something called priests, which, if you're familiar with the game, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't worry about it. We'll get to it. But anyway, they generate these these cards that you can attach units to your special units to your regiments, battalions, or armies that are called priests, and they give slight bonuses to your units. Now, there's a bunch of those kind of special, special ops type dudes that can get attached to your armies, but they typically get attached randomly, except these priests that just show up as cards in the game that you have to then assign, and you get so many of them that it just turns into busy work. And I hate that. Like, I just don't want to be spending time. And you guys will get frustrated if I don't spend the time doing it. So let's just, remove it from the game, and then we don't have to have this argument with each other back and forth. But yeah, I just don't want to spend time clicking on click this. Go to this menu. Click this. Now click this. Now click the assign button. Okay, now I've given my unit, a mystic priest. It's and doing that just constantly. So that's why I've turned this off, is I just wish that instead of making me assign the priests, it would just make priests like every other special unit in the game that just gets assigned randomly. Okay, corporation's fun, crime syndicate, that's fine. So that's what we're going to go with. Alright, here in the next screen is where you can start rolling your planet size. The dimensions of the map tend to be fixed, but the map size is a direct correlation, I think, to the radius. Temperature, gravity, planet age. Planet age is going to affect the mountains, basically, and the chance of life. So obviously if you want less life or primitive life, go for an earlier planet age. And map size, again, is going to modify with the radius. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here the radius is bigger, the map size is bigger. And it's a 1.5 to 1, no, 2.5 to 1 ratio, basically. Now, it's kind of, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I kind of wish that there was just a slider for the radius or a situation like that, so you can just actually specify your exact map size within, you know, while trying to honor the aspect ratio of it. I don't know what a good size is. 101 by 41. That's going to be fine. 1.4 million years. Average temperature. This is the average temperature across the planet. So you're going to get more extremes on the poles and the equator, and that's going to be affected some by the tilt, etc. Gravity, it's a fourth of Earth's gravity. That's fine. We're going to go with this planet. 3.13 AU from its yellow-white F5 star. All this is just flavor text. It doesn't. I don't think it means anything. This means a little bit more because it's going to affect your seasons and things like that. You will have arable land, you know, freeze over or dry out during the seasons. Okay, here it's actually making the hex map. You can see that behind us here. Mountains 7%, plains 77%, oceans 16%, and then these are the temperatures as I mentioned before, which is going to affect, you know, is it desert, is it grassland that you can plant farms on, what exactly is it? Mountains 7% seems like very little, but it's going to be enough. Basically it's counting up the number of mountain hexes compared to other hexes, and mountains are a big pain. I would recommend in your first game, go with few mountains. Don't do it to yourself. Yeah, just don't do it to yourself. Rainfall is going to be impactful later. Wind speed, I think there's wind farms? There's wind traps that can give you moisture, but anyway. Ocean 16%, that's going to be a fair amount of ocean as well. Too much of that is going to be kind of a similar problem with mountains, where it's like, oh, I've got to get to this AI and I got to wander all the way around this thing. Okay, the rest of it's mostly, I think, flavor. I don't think we need to pay much attention. Okay, the next one is the one that I think people spend the most time re-rolling, and that is because they want to get life forms, or, like me, you don't want to get life forms. We don't want to have life forms. Sorry guys, we're skipping them. Even if we don't have life forms here, there's a very good chance we'll still spawn the arachnids or the dino riders, and that's just gonna be, that's more than enough. Or mutants. Let's see, let's re-roll until we get, like I said, I don't want, there we go. Whoa. Biosphere is actually, so even though we're a Siwa class, I think this is rare. This will be interesting actually to have somebody show this to the developer. No alien biology present on the planet. Doesn't that mean basically this is no longer a Siwa class? Like, these stats here should be, this is not a Siwa class planet basically. So done. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Okay, here we go. I don't want lobsters. That's the first thing I'm looking at, is I don't want animals. Like, I'm not going to do this to myself. It's going to be a punishing game. There's plenty of other Let's Plays to check out. Yeah, like I said, get rid of this. It's doable. No. No, come on, I've done this before. This is the tedious part of the game. I wish it gave more control to the player to choose what they want. And not have to do this. So at least you guys get to see the different things you can get. If it takes too long, we'll just go with it and just deal with it. But okay guys, I'm stopping here. So this is what we're gonna roll with. This planet has protocellular organism and bacteria. Top of the evolutionary chain is a superbacter. An aquatic microbiological herbivore. Its chemistry is water carbon based, and it's oxygen breathing. There's very little oxygen on this planet, so human. The way this is phrased is kind of hard for me to parse, but atmospheric human hazard, insufficient. It means I think there's not enough oxygen for breathing. Alien nutrition value is good value. I think that means if you make some alien biology farms, you can get food. However, I don't know that we're going to have... atmospheric hazard, none? That's what I was trying to say. I don't know if this means we're going to be able to build farms or not. Xenobiological hazard, none. I think it means there's just no enemies, right? Vegetation level, none. That means there's no forests. That's fine, it's an early game. Like, basically I found that if you want to try to have forests for some reason, you're going to have a bad time trying to get it without life, because obviously it's hard to have forests evolve on land without also life forms, so that's kind of what you're stuck with. Anyway, let's go ahead and continue. Colonization, this is a history. You can re-roll this if you want to try to get different numbers of zones. 10 zones actually looks fine. Services, economy is 98, mining 2, agriculture 0. That's, you know, I would have liked to have had arable land, but unless you are willing to get life forms, I don't think you're going to have a biosphere that allows for agriculture. That's my understanding anyway. You can still get farming factions though in your game. So some of the minor factions or major factions can be farmers. It's just that they're dome farmers. History, several small companies, a big corporation open due to strategic location, key export. This is all the stuff that settled the planet, and this is going to kind of determine, I think, the number of ruins and things you see, and the kind of, especially in the next one, the kind of special things you see on the land, the perks. Let's see, mining hub in the sector, creating synergy effects for miners due to the mining activity. There's no 2% mining economy. I don't know why there's so much focus on mining events. Alright, let's continue. Then the apocalypse comes, and this is how many people are left alive, is 1.6 million. 70% of them are raiders. 23% are farmers. Okay, well, see, that's what I meant. That's what I was just saying, is there's still farming factions. And then 8% are the scavenging factions. What doesn't show up here, well, hunters I don't have anything to say about. What doesn't show up here, though, is, like I said, mutants, spiders, dino riders. Those are nomads, I think they're called. Things like that aren't showing up here, and I have no control over whether they show up or not. Several major companies have evacuated their high-tech installations. Local reformist forces tried to storm the planet. The conflict, blah, blah, blah. Trade is completely stopped. Powerful raider clan. That means there's raiders, I think. An unknown, extremely virulent disease wiped out Tulsaleria, which is a city, so there will be ruins of that city or a remnant faction based on it. Forgotten nuclear reactor went into meltdown, radiating Papillion. That means I think there's going to be radiation on certain parts of the planet. Enemies have nuked it. Fine, more radiation, more disease. Drought, destroy the survivors. Religious cult briefly takes prominence. And another deadly disease. I don't know what the deadly disease does on your map. Like I said, I think the nuclear stuff indicates fallout. You can get crash-landed ships, which I think you'll then later find as derelicts on the map. So stuff like that is what you can look through here on the history. Continue. This is a summary of what we've got. And I'm going to stop the video here, guys, and when we come back, we'll actually start into the game. Thanks for watching. I will see you then. Bye-bye.